So now we're gonna understand something, because when you said you didn't realize we was gonna go through this in 2026, let me show you something. Because I used to do this years ago, even before I met Anoop, but I forgot. I got away from it, but I want to get back to it. All right. So let me know when y'all see that.
Yeah.
All right. So here is the an online Bible with the Hebrew and the Greek. So I'm in the dictionary. So what you do is, which I did this all the time, if you go to 2025, this is a definition of a word, but I'm using this also with the year. All right, so you got 2025, so we're looking at it as a year. This is what the mountain of God, right? So when you go back and you look at everything surrounding Trump, it was all religious. Before Trump's term, the first time, especially, you wasn't seeing people associating presidents to Messiah-like stuff. And I did many videos. They gave Obama a little something, but most of the time they were saying Obama was the devil and he was
the Antichrist,
abomination and all of that.
Yeah.
And when it came to Trump, especially when I went back and seeing that the small hats who was involved, they was the ones who were giving him this big old crown and a Torah and calling him King Cyrus. And
King Cyrus, yes, it went, yes.
All of that. Right.
And the coin. They got a coin over there. They got a shekel with his face on it.
Right. And then you got Zion, which is when you read the Old Testament and in the book of Revelation, you say the lion, Judah and all that was on the lamb was standing on Mount Zion with 144,000 people. So you're talking about this mountain. So we know that this is symbolic, but it also represents places and time in certain individuals. So you look at the definition, you get hard L. Look what the word means. Look, altar.
Okay.
When you look at the word Holocaust, it means to be a sacrifice.
Yes. I know that one. Yep.
All right. So you have an altar. An altar is what happens when you set up something or sacrifice to a God. Anoop broke that down, that the word vote means to vote for a God. And sacrifices being made. Even now, with these people in Israel are saying that Americans have to go and sacrifice themselves for Israel.
Yeah.
This is what they're doing. Look at the bottom down here, the altar of what? Burnt offering. That's what 9/11 was. That was an altar. When you look at it from the spiritual aspect, that was an offering to what? Their gods, because we know that these gods at the bottom half, they require death and offerings. The same way people do when they go into Hollywood and all that. Okay, we're gonna break you off, but you're gonna have to give up something. And a lot of times the person becomes the altar and sacrifice themselves sexually, immorally, and then later on, for them to keep being famous, they have to then what? Sacrifice family members to the god or the gods that's running things. And we know that it's the small hat, and the small hats worship Yahoo or Yahuwah or Yahweh, which we know is Set or Tahuti or the moon god, Osiris, earth god. All them gods are slammed into one as Elohim. But they don't teach the people that they're manipulating that into that. So you got all this from that. That's 2025. So it was a sacrifice going on to a god. Now let's go to the next year. We in 2026. Now look what 2026 says, hara. Now look at the definition of it. Destroy, out of hand, kill, murderer, put together. All this is what's going on right now, from Palestine to Sudan to Iran. Now Yemen done jumped in it with the Houthis yesterday. They done joined in. And even though they created the Houthis to work for Israel and them, they done switched up. Now they lined up with the Arab. Look, slaughter,
yeah,
slayer, kill, slain, slay, slew, killing, kills. Look at that. That's what this is. To smite with what? Deadly intent.
Deadly intent. Primitive root. That's not sibling.
This is what they doing. And it's all according to the Kabbalah and the Talmud and the Mishnah and the Zohar.
The Zohar.
All these books I'm reading and studying and extracting what they're doing and why. Because people don't understand. They're like, why we got to go and die for Israel? Because Israel's main thing is telling them that the only way the Messiah is going to come is Israel itself is threatened beyond belief, and there's so much chaos on the planet, which they contributing to that. So they believe that if they could keep conjuring up all this death, that their Messiah is going to come, which we know that all spirit beings are dead, but the deadest spirit beings is three ether. And we know that Osiris is definitely behind it because Osiris is the worst out of all of them when it comes to needing blood. So we know that this year is going to be full of 2026, going to be full of death.
Osiris, what's the original name? Osar.
Yeah. So let's go to next year. So what next year? Because we're going to take it all the way to 2030.
Shit, we're putting
everybody keep talking about. Go ahead.
We're laying out these predictions, sibling.
And tonight the Spirit is handing me a scroll that burns like the coal on Isaiah's lips. The secret of 2026 is no trick. It is the mathematical fingerprint of the Ancient of Days pressed upon the forehead of time itself. And you, yes you, are written into the equation. Let us begin where every divine drama begins, in the dark. Welcome to Understanding the Word. I'm Pastor Najam. Genesis 1:2, the earth was formless, void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. The Hebrew phrase is absolute chaos harnessed by the breath of Elohim. Out of that chaos he spoke light, and the first number exploded into history.
Yom Echad.
Day one. Not day the first, but day one. Unity, singularity, the signature of the one who would later say, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Beloved, 2026 is the echo of that first
Echad.
The reunion of fractured creation under the scepter of the returning king. Now fasten your gaze on the Hebrew calendar. The civil year 2026 corresponds to 5786 on the sacred count from Adam. Watch the sacred arithmetic. 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 6 equals 26. 26 is the gematria of
Yehovah,
the tetragrammaton, the name that makes demons flee and mountains skip. The year itself is preaching a sermon. Yahweh reigns. Every digit is a trumpet blast. Every zero is the open mouth of prophecy shouting, He who was and is to come. Numbers are vessels, pour deeper. The letter
Hey
equals 5. The letter
Pei
equals 80. The letter
Vav
equals 6. Stack them, 5, 7, 86. Reduce. 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 6 equals 26. Again,
Yehovah.
But 5786 minus the 2,000 years of the church age leaves 3,786. Divide by the 144,000 sealed in Revelation 7, and the quotient vibrates at 26.26. Coincidence? The God who weighs the islands like dust does not stumble into decimal points. Let me take you to the wilderness tabernacle. Exodus 26 curtains of finely twisted linen covered the holy place. 26 boards of acacia wood overlaid with gold formed the framework. 26 is the architecture of God's dwelling. Fast forward to Solomon's temple, 1 Kings 6:2. The house was 60 cubits long, 20 wide, 30 high. Multiply length by width by height, 36,000 cubic cubits. Divide by the 1,380 days of the second half of Daniel's week, and the quotient lands at 26.08. The temple is screaming 2026. The dwelling place of God is about to descend, not made with hands, but eternal in the heavens, and its street address is 2026 AD. Feel the ground shaking. The Hebrew word for earthquake,
Rash.
the same root as the shaking in Haggai 2:6-7. I will shake all nations, and the desire of all nations shall come. 2026 is the epicenter of that shaking. Markets will tremble, thrones will topple, but the kingdom that cannot be shaken will remain, and its citizens will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom.
Now, the number 26 carries a profound meaning, and there are multiple aspects to this number. In the Hebrew, the sacred name of God, which is Yahweh, it equals the gematria value of 26. And so when you calculate it, Yod equals 10, Hey equals 5, Vav equals 6, and Hey again equals 5. And so when you add them together, you get the number 26. And so that means that this coming year is literally marked by his name. It bears his covenant, and it also carries his authority. Now, the number 26 has also been used by the enemy to frequently mock God, to mock his image, and to mock his covenant. And it has been used to attack the biblical definition of marriage. When you look at the date aspect, June 26, and on this exact date, 3 separate Supreme Court rulings were issued. One directly attacked the name of God through Lawrence versus Texas on June 26, 2003, which struck down sodomy laws. Another struck at the very image of God, United States versus Windsor on June 26, 2013, struck down the Marriage Defense Act. And then another redefined the biblical meaning of love and marriage itself, Obergefell versus Hodges, June 26, 2015, fully legalizing gay marriage. And even Hollywood has done this. You look at what's coming up here within the next 9 months. The new Supergirl movie is slated to be released on June 26. That is 6/26/26, a cultural counterfeit set directly against the name and covenant of God. And so this number points us to the heart of the conflict, God's covenant love versus mystery Babylon and Babylon's rebellion. Now, the Hebrew year is going to be 5786. And when you rearrange that in its numerical chronological order, it reads 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is a prophetic divine order. It shows us that events are lining up step in step, and it also symbolizes a countdown beginning to unfold. The number 5 in the Hebrew is the letter Hey, and it means to behold. It is the picture of Revelation. God saying, stop, look, pay attention to what I am doing. The number 6 in the Hebrew is the letter Vav, and it means to hook. It joins things together. It is the pulling of nations into alignment. This is also the hook in the jaw concerning the Gog and Magog pattern. And then, of course, the number 6 also representing man, in which the day man was created. Now, the number 7 in the Hebrew is the letter Zayin, and it literally means weapon or sword. And so in the modern Hebrew, Lazayin means to arm. It is the picture of war, conflict being prepared, nations arming themselves for battle. And then the number 8 is the Hebrew letter of Chet, which means a wall. It is a fence to separate and to divide, and it also represents new beginnings. And so when you put all of this together, you get a very specific message. Behold, the nations are being hooked together. They are being armed for war, and a great division is coming, one that will lead into a new beginning. And so the sequence is absolutely clear.
There we go. So now we're going to know what next year is. Look what's set for next year, 2027. Hooray.
Shit.
Look, slain, slaughter. They still killing. From 2026, killed, slain, slaughter. It's going to continue. That's what it's going to do. It's going to continue. All it's going to continue to next year. And look at down here. Noun and masculine slaughter. Absolute Proverbs 24:11. Ezekiel. Construct Isaiah 20:27 of what? They going to get took. And Tel Aviv getting rocked right now.
Yes.
But they want to slaughter their enemies when you read the rest of the definition. But they the ones who blocking the cameras. They don't want y'all to see Tel Aviv is getting rocked like Sodom and Gomorrah did according to the Old Testament.
But simply remember, say how Tel Aviv is. Tel Aviv is like the capital for sodomy, isn't it?
Yeah, the gayest place in the Middle East.
Okay, did you know that according to the Boston Globe, Tel Aviv, the capital of Israel, is the gayest city in earth? Okay, every year the Pride Parade in Tel Aviv draws 250,000 attendees. Okay, there's also, they come from all over the world to go to this Pride Parade in Israel. And there's also officially a gay beach in Tel Aviv run by the Hilton. And according to the Jerusalem Post, this is their own paper, a major paper in Israel, Israel self-proclaims itself as a front-runner as the gay capital of the world. And so Israel and Tel Aviv and Jerusalem are welcoming to the LGBTQ IAWXYZ+. Okay, but in order to become a citizen of Israel, you have to renounce your faith in Jesus Christ. Okay, you cannot go to Israel and say, I'm a Christian and I support you guys and I just want to be a citizen of Israel. If you do that, you will literally have to denounce your faith in Christ and convert to Judaism in order to become a citizen. It's the only nation on earth that bases its citizenship, around your religion. And so this is a major deal. You cannot become an Israeli citizen without denouncing Jesus Christ, but you can be gay or trans. That's okay.
Now they get rocked over there. And they don't want nobody to see. They say if anybody put any video footage out, 5 years in jail.
Yes. A UK citizen, an old man, or oldish man, has been arrested so far for posting said content.
That's right.
But then you know what the craziest thing? I don't know if you see any of this or if this is a thing in America, but in England, you have paid influencers who are original, who are promoting for us to leave the wilderness of North America or the brains of the beast and go take ourselves over to Dubai and live like in some lap of luxury while modern day slavery is taking place with our kinfolk and siblings.
Yeah, well, they don't want to go there because Dubai getting rocked too.
It's...
And they said the people was going there because it was like you can hide your money and stuff over there.
Yes, this is it. But let's look at it in its holistic setting. Okay, there's less tax over there, but what about the cost of living? The cost of living is like 3 times, if not 4 times, as much as in the UK and in America, depending what parts you're at. So what are we doing? We pay less tax, but we pay more money for our shopping, groceries, and your rent. Nah.
It's all a setup. And even I got a video with what's his name? Mel Gibson, and I think he was doing an interview somewhere out the country, and he was saying that they're down in Argentina setting fires.
Yes. And there's a video of them. There's an alleged video. We can't tell where the location is. And I don't speak Argentinian or Yiddish, so I don't know their translations. But I saw some videos relating to what you're talking about.
Right. And he's saying that they also, if a nuclear thing pop off, they trying to build bunkers and things down there because they're saying the way the wind blows, it won't reach Argentina if there's a nuclear fallout. So they that's a backup. But they want to trick people all the way back into Israel, and their own books are telling you it's an end time thing.
Yeah, come on.
And Israel's gonna get swamped by Eurasia, and people in the Middle East is all gonna converge on that spot. But they think they're gonna win, but they're not. That's the only lie about those scriptures, is that they think they're gonna win. They're not. The time of the saving the Messiah was over in 1962 February. All right, Truman kind of Peace in War Times. So I mentioned about February 5th being the end of the moon cycle and the time of the Savior and all that has passed. So this is coming out of Nature Book 2, and it says, listen to the reason the Caucasian Christian year 1962 CC marks the end of the moon cycle, which is the end of the evolutionary cycle. Cycles of nature can overlap each other to the extent that they are interrelated. CCY, or Caucasian Christian Year 1962, signifies what? The end of the world of the moon cycle, not the planet, y'all. Or science is the supreme mental force of knowledge and power in the universes, meaning the sun, the moons, and the planets, chose the year 1962 for the end of the moon and evolution cycles, because first of all, it was a 9-year when it all its digits add up to 9 this way. 1 plus 9 plus 6 plus 2 equals 18. 1 plus 8 plus 9. This is very important because the power of 9 is the resurrector, who indeed must raise the smack circular order upward on the side that is on the right. Secondly, 1962 was the year that Nupu pronounced and made themselves known to this writer Alpha Uno. Furthermore, history shows what indeed emotions ran high, violent activities increased, which is happening right now. There was a worldwide unrest and disaster were rife all over the planet. Gaia Earth in the 60s, marking the end of a dispensation in the universe called a cycle of evolution. Let it be remembered. All right, so we go to number 3. And it says, listen to reason. However, those unusual events of the 60s were not the world catastrophe, which is yet to come and be following the end of evolution. Then, too, certain star movements in the skies in 1962, CCY signified major cycle changes for better after the worst of Armageddon is over. The survivors of Armageddon are the positive and the future of persons and things on Mother Goddess Earth. By extension, everywhere else let it be. Remember, always let it be known. So that's the first part I want to bring in, is why I mentioned that. Then I'm going to follow up with more support. Show me the God, peace, and war time. This is the part 2. So now we're going to go and look at 1962 in the Hebrew, because I remember Newt was saying that I should have dropped that in the last video that we did with the sibling. But so I'm gonna do it here. So we go to 1962. So we already read that 62 was the end of a cycle, Armageddon, all that stuff is gonna happen within the 60 plus year term window. So you go to 1962 in this Strong's Hebrew, right? You click on that. Now look what it say, Haya. Right? This is a 9-year. Look what it says. Hayal. Look, calamity. See, this is following that all of that stuff that was going on. We know that the 3 South cataclysm is definitely on the way. All right, so look, ruin. Right? This is what's taking place because the moon cycle is ending, and it's a final battle between good versus evil. See, Job 6:2, weighed my grief. Calamity, look, the balance is inlaid, right? Because we're in the balancing time. All right, another form of hover, look, ruin. And what does Jay-Z call himself? Hover. All right, so we ought to see that his fish business been going on. I told y'all he was behind the Barclays Center with those billionaires selling that the Barclays and stuff was being sold between billionaires, but Jay-Z's thing was to help displace the poor people around that area, and that's why it came out. And I did some on this back in 2020 with the Agenda 21 and all that, and Over is working with those people, all right, to help bring in the United Nations Agenda 21 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, which is all a cover to hide the Greater Israel Project, all right? That's what all that stuff is. So we're going to keep going. All right, so we keep going down. Look, destruction is a suffix. Id quad, and probably an error for it. Noun feminine, only. Micah 6:2. The term conveys the idea of a what? Crushing misfortune or calamity heavy enough to be pictured as a load on a set of scales, right? We're in the Libra cycle, right? Which is what? The scales. It belongs to a small group of Hebrew nouns that invoke what? Sudden ruin or overwhelming disaster. Compare Strong's number 1942, 7451, and Strong's 6869. Unlike broader words for evil or trouble, emphasize the experimental weight of adversity, disaster felt as a burden. All right? Job pairs my grief with my calamity. This is something, if you know about the story of Job, Job was somebody who was considered upright, and he was blessed. And then the devil came to God, which we keep telling y'all need to understand that Leviathan is the God and the devil of the Bible. And the fact that God made a deal with a being that he allegedly kicked out of heaven all the way back to Genesis. So from Genesis to Job is a lot of time that spread. Let me see. Let me ask. How many years are between the book of Genesis and the book of Job?
There isn't a simple answer because the exact timing of the book of Job is debated. Many scholars believe Job lived during the time of the patriarchs, like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which would place his story within the time frame of Genesis. However, some analyses suggest the book was written much later, after the Babylonian exile, perhaps in the 5th or 4th century BCE. So it depends on whether you're asking about when Job lived or when the book was actually written. Which aspect are you curious about?
The book, as far as the time, from the time that Genesis was allegedly wrote to the time that the book of Job was actually written, how many years is between those two writings?
Well, that's another complex question. Genesis is traditionally believed to have been written by Moses around 1450 to 1410 BCE. The book of Job, however, is dated by many scholars to between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE, indicating a potential difference of around 800 to 1,000 years. But remember, some still think Job was written much earlier, maybe even by Moses around the same time as Genesis. Does that make sense?
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna just go off of roughly 800 to 1,000 years. All right, so just to give y'all some type of visual. So Satan got kicked out, and he's around here knowing what his job is. He's gonna ask God, and they're gonna make a deal, and that man was pretty much destroyed off a bet. All right, so you keep going and going and going, and just talk about human suffering and divine justice. And also this here is, and I'm using this because Job is really Ayub in the Hebrew, but they made it into the word Job, and then now people work in America is got a job, and most people don't like their job. All right, so it's all about being treated wrong and all of that. So we know 1962 represent a calamity. So now this is what I did after that. So now let's look at this. Let's look at 1948 when the state of Israel was created. And look at this. Strong's Hebrew 1948 is haluth. Look, madness. Anybody knows what's going on and how that whole thing came about with the state of Israel, and everything that has happened since then is what? Haleluth. Madness. See? From the active particle meaning to praise. See, it's the state of Israel, they are praising what they're doing. Everybody is now calling it the Great Noticing. They know that what's happening over there in Palestine and Gaza and worldwide, because it's have extended, is numbered madness. You got Palestine getting took, Iran got took, Iraq got took, they're attacking Lebanon. Like I said, going to the Greater Israel Project, it's all there. Look, folly, that means to make mistakes. Active particle of halal. All right, halal is the root word of hallelujah in Lucifer. When you look at it, halal, to boast, celebrate, commend, glory, fame, make boast. That's all this stuff is. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull this up. Is the Hebrew word halal connected to Lucifer in the Hebrew?
Yes, there is a connection, but it's important to clarify how. The word translated as Lucifer in some Bibles is Halel in Hebrew, which which means shining one or morning star. Over time, Christian tradition began using the Latin translation, Lucifer, which means light bringer, as a name for Satan. So the words Hillel and Hillel, meaning to shine or praise, are related, but the connection to Lucifer came later through translation. Does that make sense?
Thank you very much. So again, and then look, it's 1984, which is the reverse of the year that Israel was founded, which is 1948. All right, so talking about the shining one and all the celebrate, come in, deal, make, foolish, glory, give light, sing, be worthy. Like I told y'all, hallelujah is the root of hallelujah is halal, so it's praising the devil. And that's what people is doing. I support Israel. They got a right to exist. All this old stuff, but they're the ones who are acting out demonic activities. All right, so, and they ought to tell you that Lucifer's a shining light in the New Testament and all of that. This is what y'all seeing, and it's connected with Job. Job was treated with harshness. Isn't that what's taking place all over the world? Come on, y'all gotta wake up. All right, so we go back. All right. Further down appears once in the canon, Ecclesiastics, Solomon surveys life under the sun, rejection of wisdom, beginning, just all these different things. Just wanted y'all to understand that what y'all seeing, you can definitely see what's going on if you know how to use different dictionaries. It's not the Hebrew is not the only one you can do this with, but this is just one I wanted to use because it's more telling. Too many to call the peace and wartime. But fifth, it's nothing else. They're not gonna do no more winning because the cycle has changed. So what happens is go ahead.
I was gonna say, but sibling, pardon self. If we was to look, if those people was to be truthful and honest, which is clearly not an option, they wouldn't even possess said land because it's not even written in obviously we know they don't follow the day-to-day Israeli, would read the Torah, but the people who are making the decisions, the Polish gentleman, Mr. Wakowski, what's his name?
Yeah, Makowski.
That's it. Him and the people them who are making decisions, they're doing, as you say, the Zohar, the damn flipping, the Kabbalah and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The day-to-day people are being told, those poor people, I will say that we're original, so we got humanity and empathy. They're being drilled. They look at children, they're being drilled at school. Everyone hates you, Everyone hates you, especially all of these Muslims. They hate you. And the goy, they hate you because of who you are. So, to study your book, we're going to protect you. We've got the Iron Dome, and the Iron Dome doesn't seem to be doing too much at the moment, strangely enough. But anyway, they're being brainwashed, but the powers, the upper class, they ain't reading no Torah. They know that they're following something totally different and worshiping a totally different thing, whereas the people they've just been brainwashed and they don't even know. Say it says in the thing that when the Mashiach comes back, that's when Israel's going to be back in the land, and that's when they're going to be, according to the scripture, they will be the light of the world again. Their hands aren't to bring forth that. That happens when the Mashiach comes back and restores righteousness onto the earth. So just from that itself, we know these people are liars. We know that what they're doing is, as you're highlighting here, is bringing forth an agenda to in many ways to make us suffer, but more importantly, to feed their gods.
That's exactly what it is. That's the underlining thing. We just been given all this other stuff to give us some kind of basic understanding, even though it's clouded, because that's what spirit beings do. In order for the bottom half to work, the spirit beings have to, they programs and controllers of human beings, but this is the way that they do it. And like Anu said, it's the religious texts are just the weakest version of why they're doing what they're doing, but they lie about it and put stuff in reverse and have human beings programmed to the point that they're just following the script. And that's why with them people, what's right and what's wrong, who, you know, to them, wrong and right is the same. When they do what's right and when they do what's wrong is right, because it's justifiable, and they believe that they have to do whatever it takes. Because in the Talmud and even in the Kabbalah, they believe that Messiah will redeem them for all the wrongs that they've done. They know what they're doing is wrong. The Zionists and all that. They know that harming and killing people, but
No, stop there. Don't give them a get out of free jail card, Tar.
No, I'm not. I'm based upon the Kabbalah.
No, it tells them what they can do. Remember, there's a strict thing. They can deal with children 3 years old and all this, a boy who's 6 and all this. So, you know, all these nastiness, all the filth that's in that Talmud, that's what they're dealing with. And listen, everybody knows that a child is a child. You're not supposed to touch them outside of investing time, love, energy, shaping them to be a well-adjusted. These so-and-sos are like, well, no, hold up. They're 3 years old now. It's fair game. As long as I'm not even going to get into the filth that's in there, but you know what I'm talking about.
Right, like, but the Talmud is the corrupt version of the Old Testament. The Kabbalah is where they explain why they do these things. Matter of fact, let me, because I went into this in a video. In these, they have something in the Kabbalah called the Kelly pot.
Oh, yeah. Hey, before you go there, sibling, just remember that. And Newt, just remember this thought. Continue to that 2030, please. I'm very interested.
Let me do that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get to that. Then I'll jump to it. All right. So you see 2027,
and
right?
I also think. Hold on, before you begin, I think the Mashiach is here, because I live in Brooklyn, not Brooklyn. I actually live in Brooklyn and Queens, but a lot of their vehicles now said that the Mashiach is here. That is for them to go see him. Mm-hmm. So apparently this person is here. They not saying who it is.
Is that the revelation?
They prophecies, they believe it's supposed to be 2. And I was looking at this yesterday.
Let me tell you just how close we can actually be to what the rabbis understand from the Hebrew scriptures. Most of us are familiar with the Old Testament prophecies about the Messiah, that he is the son of David, which means he's going to be a conquering king. But there's also honest rabbis, and they see other messianic passages that seem to contradict that. For instance, Isaiah 53. In other words, there's a sacrifice, there's a suffering, there's a death. And the rabbis associated that with Messiah as well. Well, wait a minute. The son of David is to have a forever throne. There's no way he can die. And yet here's another Messiah that dies and he suffers. And so they call that Messiah the son of Joseph. Joseph, who was sold into slavery and went into exile and suffered and then was raised up. And through Joseph, the whole family was saved when the famine came. So they say there's not just one Messiah, there's at least 2 Messiahs coming. Son of David, son of Joseph. That's what the rabbis are teaching. Now look how close that is to what Christians believe. Not 2 Messiahs, one that suffers, one that reigns, but one Messiah who comes 2 times. The first time to suffer, the second time to reign.
And like I say, they're speeding up.
Listen to what this rabbi says to Netanyahu.
משהו עוד, וגם משהו שעדיין משאיר ליבו. אז הייתה משהו במה ידיעתו. הכנראה שמספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר כמה שעות בגיר ועדיין ליבו. אבל יש עוד כמה שעות, אבל יש להשתדל גם היום. בצורה טובה.
אז אני אגיד לך, יכול להיות שנגיע לימות המשיח, אבל זה לא הולך לקרות ביום חמישי הבא. הוא ייפול ואז הבעיה תיפטר. אבל בכל מקרה, זה פשוט איראן אחרת. היא כבר לא מאיימת כפי שהיא הייתה. היא לא אותה מעצמה, זה לא הבריון הענק שאין מה לעשות מולו ושאין מה להתאגד מולו. גם מתאגדים מולו כרגע יחד איתנו וגם פועלים מולו בדרכים גלויות ובדרכים אחרות שעוד יבררו בהמשך. בכל מקרה, אני יכול להגיד לך שבעזרת השם, ישראל נמצאת בדרך הרבה יותר חזקה, בעוצמה הרבה יותר גדולה משהייתה אי פעם, ובסוף צריך להבין את זה. כן? אני חושב שכולם אומרים, רגע, אנחנו נגיע למנוחה ולנחלה. אנחנו נגיע לימות המשיח. אז אני אגיד לך, יכול להיות שנגיע לימות המשיח, אבל זה לא הולך לקרות ביום חמישי הבא. בחיים של אומות, אתה נתקל כל הזמן באיומים חדשים, או באיומים ישנים שמתחדשים, והדרך היחידה להבטיח את הקיום שלך, את העתיד שלך, את השגשוג שלך, ואת הבריתות שעושים איתך, זה שתהיה חזק מאוד. ואין שום ספק שממערכה למערכה, ממלחמת התקומה, לעם כלבי, ועכשיו לשאגת הארי, ישראל יוצאת חזקה כפי שלא הייתה מעודה.
Because if you look at the year of they said that the Messiah is supposed to come around the year 6,000. But if the Hebrew calendar is like we in the year 5,000 and something, they still 200 something years early.
Wow.
But they're pushing things faster because just 2 weeks ago they said the Messiah was supposed to came 2 Thursdays ago. Then they said last Thursday he's supposed to been here, but then
what sect are we talking about? Because you got the Hababovich something.
That's one of them. But mostly the Chabab, and it's a few of them all believe the same thing. Mm-hmm. But that's the ruling class. The Netanyahu's part of the Chabad, and that's the guy who had Rabbi McSniss and them who put the Noahide laws on in America and all of that. So yeah, we on it. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. So let me do this here, then I'm gonna jump back to that.
Come with it, sibling. But sibling, this is education for the people, man. Right. I know you know, but we gotta sometimes just speak because we got stuff. We got a whole heap of stuff floating in our head and thing. But the siblings, they can't connect the dots. We're connecting the dots, man, drawing the lines and painting vivid pictures and shit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do. So now, next year, it's going to be the same thing, slaughtering and killing. All right? We see that. 2028 is going to, again, we're giving y'all years ahead of time. Now we got the Hatter God. Look, still the same thing.
What?
Slaughter, killing, harder, God, slaughter. Look at that carnage. This is worse than the 2 previous years. Feminine, slaughter, heteric, slaughter. All the way down, carnage, slaughter. Look over here, doomed to slaughter in Zechariah. The valley of slaughter. See, this is what's going to be taking place as they draw these other people in, messing with this oil. That's what's going to cause World War III. It's going to be the oil because Russia and them got to get in because they messed around and created infrastructure that oil and petroleum and all that stuff run off of. They weapons and all that stuff run off of this blood. So Russia and China can't afford to let America and Israel keep getting first downs.
Yeah.
Because it's going to cause them they're going to get invaded. And they ain't going to be able to fight back. All right, so 2028. Now look what happened on 2029. Conceive. What's this? To be with child. Something is going to be born. Look, a progenitor. That means something is going to be here. A progenitor is the next in line. Look, ancestors.
What?
Child, conceiving. To become pregnant, literally or figuratively. Then be with child, conceive, progenitor. Or become pregnant, conceive, literally. So we already know that Nupu is already here and is gestating. And Nupu will be born physically 18 million years from now. But mentally, Nupu was born in all of the African race. Confirm what I just said about the birth and all that. So this is coming out of Nature Book 2. And it says, listen to the reason. Nupu cannot exist as spirit beings in the bottom half of the smack circle of water. Because the bottom half is the domain of Zupu. But remember, in order for any person or thing to naturally come into being, he or she or it must be conceived and go through the gestation process and period and be what? Born. This principle also holds true for Nupu. So in the case of Nupu's conception in the center brains of the sons is like the birth of Nupu to us persons and other beings in the universe, because after the brains of the true stars of the universe are impregnated again by brain nukes with non-ether mentality, the brains of the centers of the suns begin to emanate non-ether mind again, and that emanation gradually increases in volume and density until all existence reaches 0.6 east counterclockwise, where the atmosphere becomes non-ether and purity again, as well as non-ether mentality, and thereby the image births of Nupu occur again. The image births of Nupu are the flesh and blood gods and goddesses of the top half of the smack circle of order during the time that the top half exists. The power and signs of Nupu and Noon are the new order for persons and things. Let it be remembered so. So something is going to happen around 2029, and it starts. See, it starts. It's changing. Now the death is over. It's not no longer talking about death. Now you get to 2030 because they keep hollering. What's up?
Yeah, no, I was just about to say, so how would you interpret that? Is that a general thing for everybody, or would that be specific for
we are the progenitors of Nupu. The black race are the actual progenitors.
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones. We are the ancestors. We the ones who've been here before and after and during.
Yes.
That's what it's telling us. See, hara. And we know that that's hard is another way to say haru. And then you got what? Ra.
Holy sugar. Yes, haru. And
so
yes.
They know we're in the sun cycle. That's why this is changing. Look, 2030. Same thing. Woman with child, conceived.
And it's changed from the masculine to the feminine as well.
There you go. Because it's about the female, the planet Earth. It's about Mother Earth, and she has to give birth to the progeny. We got to keep it going. Pregnant, child, conceived. See, this is the stuff that you have to look at. And you can keep going and going. 2031. Look, thought, fantasies. Root correspondence of mental conception. See, that Nupu is what? Mental energies.
Shit. Okay.
And we already know. It's already predestined. The game is what it's going to be. Daniel 4:5. 4 plus 5 is 9.
9. Yes.
Let's see what Daniel 4:5 says. A dream I saw which made me afraid, and the thoughts on my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. It's about a vision. People don't know what's going on. This is what Sound Right Reason does for us. 2032. Conception, child still going. And it will also represent life, because we know we're on the 79th turn. So we know that we got one more turn, another 72 million years. The next time we had this conversation, these definitions ain't gonna say that. These definitions gonna say abortion. Ain't none of this gonna play out this way. Ain't none of this gonna play out this way. This is hilarious.